I'm back, I'm Gertie Rude. Back again, I'm in a mood. I'm in a Sunday evening mood, you know, VTubers. Yes, I've eaten myself wholeheartedly through Sunday, as is my wont. Yes, it's my baking and filming day. Well, it isn't, but, you know, it was today. So, I thought we're back on this again. We're back on the hyperbole and general rabble-rousing that's going on amongst the media class. More specifically, but not exclusively, Talk TV. So let's listen to this old crocodiles have got to say. Come on!
We need to decode this madness.
We do.
And that's why Peter Blacksley's with
Oh
me.
my
Peter
God.
Blacksley's a former Metropolitan Police detective.
Right.
Peter, I mean, I try to moderate my language, but
Yes.
what the hell is going on?
You're rabble-rousing.
I can see and hear the self-control that you are exhibiting
Oh my
this morning,
God.
Peter, and I myself have one word
Right.
that applies to everything that you've spoken about in your introduction.
Biased?
And that word, rather worryingly, is escalation.
Oh, I thought it was going to be
Everything
biased. Anyway,
is
go on.
escalating. Yesterday, there were 1,300 police officers.
Stop you. Could it be escalating through bias? I'm just, you know, off the top of my head. Yes, go on, please tell me. You've got 1,300 bullshit stories where we're going to hear about each and every one of them, aren't we, dear?
In previous weeks, it has been 1,000.
I don't know why you just don't get John Wedger on there and be done with
For
it.
the first time, fireworks are fired at police officers. There were
Fireworks were fired at police officers, what, directly at them? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was firework day yesterday, wasn't it? Yes, 5th of November shall never be forgot, something or other that no one gives a think about. So, were they actually aimed at them, or were people just indiscriminately and rather dumbly setting them off in the crowd, you know? But, I mean, it wasn't, oh my God, amazeballs, it was fireworks. It was firework night yesterday. Yeah, all day yesterday, whatever. 5th of November, in other words. Remember the 5th of November.
So you can see there's an escalation in the bad behaviour.
They're escalating there.
Escalation in the numbers of police officers.
They're escalating there. I can see them all escalating. They're escalating one and all. Look at them all escalating together. I'm outraged. I'm discombobulated. Oh, I can't. I'm going to have to go and have a lie down in the dark room. Everybody's escalating all over me. VTubers. Go on. It's escalating.
Out on the streets.
Right.
And generally speaking,
Yes.
as a complete overview,
Is it?
there is an escalation.
There is an escalation.
Friction.
Yes.
And I fear next weekend
Yes.
we could.
Look at them all frictiating and escalating. Oh, I'm astounded I am. I'm going to write to people. Who should I write to? I might write to myself, actually. Yes. The only sensible person in this room. Yes. And I have you know, I'm in it alone. So there you go. Oh, I can't be putting up with all this escalating on my VTubers. It's terrible. Oi, all you people what live in my bleeding laptop, can you stood yourself standing upwards and stop escalating? Stop it. Oh, I'm populated. Come on, Peter.
Potentially.
Potentially. Yes.
I think the blue touch paper has already been lit.
Right.
I think next week we might see.
Well, it hasn't been, but I'm sure you, with the security services and the powers that be, are going to make sure that it does escalate to next weekend, yes. And I'll tell you who's going to come off, because we've already heard that the Working Class Football Lads Alliance, or whatever they're bleeding well called, right, are all going to march for the armistice, or something or other. Yeah, and I'm sure you know what will happen. You know who will be the bad guys. And it won't be these people what are escalating. It'll be the working class lads, won't it? Yeah, after being talked up all week and stoked up by you bleeding menaces. Go on.
A severe
Be social
and
media
worrying
next, you wait.
Escalation.
Escalation.
Because, of course, this time next week,
Right.
we will be in the midst of our most respectful
Right.
and solemn
Yes.
act of remembrance
Yes.
for our fallen heroes
Oh.
and our injured heroes.
Can I stop you there, Peter? Because in 2020, we were denied having a respectful summit together. What's fallen heroes, respectful, nothing to do with escalation. We were denied it. And there was a guy from the Black Watch wearing his tartan, rather becoming what I might call kilt. Oh, he did look nice. And he was playing his bagpipes, Mr. Peter Blexley. Yes, ex-detective, inspector, chief commander, chief petty officer, sergeant, constable, whatever your name is. Yeah, all of them. Yeah. And he was playing his what one might call bagpipes, wearing his what one might call kilt. Because I think he used to be in the Black Watch, which is a Scottish regiment, you know. Went over the top and died, well, wholesale. In Battle of the Somme, didn't they? Something or other. And, of course, they're overly represented in the deaths in the Second World War and every other, you know, what's it, Falklands, all that. Yeah, were they? Come on, be honest. Yes, and he played his bagpipes. And the police, in an effort not to escalate anything, I mean, heaven forbid, one of them might have got a cold or a sniffle, kicked him straight over into the gutter. Yeah? So, 3 years ago, we weren't allowed to go out, were we? No, people weren't. Had to stand in silence to respectful memory of all our fallen war dead. Yeah, it was forgotten on the wind then, wasn't it? Oh, yeah, but now you're hiding behind the veterans. All of a sudden, they can get up out the doorways, yeah. They can get up out the homeless hostels, and we all care about them all of a sudden. Go on, fool.
And just on that point, Peter, I'm going to ask Neha, who is the person who deals with everything that's on the screen.
Right.
I'm going to ask you just to put the picture of the poppy sellers on the screen.
How dare they have that escalating bleeding placard? Stop bombing children. And that one says, not in my name. Outraged. I'm absolutely outraged. I'm going to write to the king. I'm going to complain. I might actually take my drawers off and start running up and down the mall. Yes, in an escalation. That would be a bleeding escalation, I can tell you. Yes. Oh, I'm going to have a one-woman protest. I am. Stop bombing children. How outrageous. What an outrageous thing to say and postulate. No wonder it's escalating. Awful. Awful people.
Peter and me, if you don't mind, Neha.
Right.
I mean, that was at Charing Cross station yesterday, if you're watching on Talk TV. If you're not watching Talk TV, if you're listening to the radio, switch on the telly, switch on Talk TV, because I want you to see this picture.
Yeah.
These are what look...
what looks. You've just hit the operative word. What looks. What we're looking at is they're usually military pensioners themselves, and they sit out and sell poppies. It's a universal sign of peace, because the poppies grew on the fields after the Battle of the Somme, the Second World War, and the trenches, this, that, and the other, Passchendaele, blah-de-blah, right? And they're also made, all the poppies are made en masse by military veterans. It gives them a job, you know? It takes them all year to do it. Now, he's saying that these people were barracking them and surrounding them, or were they just selling poppies and the protest came by? Because if you look in the back, and the picture does tell 1,000 tales, doesn't it? So if you look in the back, no one seems to be barracking, and they don't seem to be overly perturbed, because they're sat down quite calmly, they haven't stood up, the guy's looking towards the camera, probably because he sees somebody in front of him with the camera taking his photograph. They don't look as if they're doing anything but walking past in a protest and probably stopping, because every now and again they sat down. So stop whipping up a bleeding storm. I mean, I wasn't up in London yesterday, and if I was, I wouldn't go on these protests. You know why? Because I've got better things to do with my time. There's better ways to make a protest. So, what they want to do is up to them. It's freedom of speech. And all they're calling for is for people to stop killing children, please. If you could just see your way to doing that, yeah? But they're not going to be happy until they've caused civil unrest, and it'll be down to the narrative and the emotive language of the media and the media class. And I'm telling you, any minute now, they're going to go, it's social media's fault, completely going over their heads. The fact that this is what Mike Munn call social media that they're on. Idiots, come on.
Like senior citizens.
Oh, they're senior citizens, are they?
Sitting down, as you would see...
We didn't give a fig about them a few years ago. Stop. You didn't give a fig about them a few years ago when you banded with the government, calling everybody a granny killer and not letting people see their dying relatives and everything. Now they're senior citizens all of a sudden. Oh, let's get on board. Happy clappy world. Like to teach the world to sing. Well, a few years ago, you didn't give a stuff about them. They're dying en masse. Go on.
Offices, all the kind of places.
Yes, you didn't speak up then, did you?
Right across the country.
Media.
There's one at the...
Yeah, and it's been proved. Oh, stop. It's my bleeding channel. It's been proved. I said it all along. If you go on my back catalogue, I said it all along. Because somebody or anybody with half a brain cell, and I must admit, I do actually, at this present time, I've got 3/4 of a brain cell left. Yes, and most of it is pretty salient. And the media was stoking up the government. The media was passing off the government narrative 3 years ago. The media was complicit in letting people bleed in old people's home, and the relatives had to look at them through the bleeding window. Oh, and if you didn't go and get your jab and your jibby, oh, well, you're a granny killer and this, that and the bleeding other. We were all forced to take it. Everything was shut down. People died of bleeding untreated diseases and cancers, Christ knows what. And you backed up the government. So don't you start now about all this BS. You want to cause a civil bleeding war, and then you come down on the working class again, which is predominantly white working class, I might add. It will all be their fault. Yes. Oh, and when was it all of a sudden? Oh, yeah, we're getting on to that bit, aren't we? We're getting on to that bit. Go on, Peter.
Beside where I'm sitting now at London Bridge, they're right across the country.
Yes.
The Royal British Legion relies on volunteers.
Yes.
From all backgrounds, some military, some not.
Right.
Who are selling poppies.
Oh.
I mean, it is the most British thing.
Yes. Well, it wasn't a few years ago, and you didn't.
British thing to buy.
You didn't stand up for them 3 years ago, did you? You didn't give a fig about it 3 years ago. You backed up the government, who were all partying like it was 1999. You were sucking so much bleeding. Yes, well, I won't say the word. Won't you? You're all in bed together. Yes, oh, Boris and this, oh, we're all going to get the coup. Oh, dear, everything's really bad. We're going to hell in a handcart. Oh, bung all the old people in rest homes so that they can all die en masse. No one gives a fig. Yeah. Shut down. Oh, yes, very unpatriotic. Yes, it's unpatriotic if you actually turned up to the armistice a few years ago, wasn't it? Yes, because, oh, you might be spreading a sniff and a cough. Yes, the police out en masse, didn't they, to beat up the bleeding veterans that year? Oh, yes, they did, because I remember it, and it's still on VooTube. Go on. You're bleeding heart attack. I'm going to have a stroke in a minute.
Pro-Palestinian activists
Hypocrisy.
have decided to hijack that, to intimidate these people,
to
be horrible to them, to throw their signs, their flags right across this.
When was this happening? Because have you got evidence? Have you got video proof? Because one photograph doesn't show any of that. Most of the people in the background aren't even looking at the poppy sellers. They're looking away from them, over them, or in every other direction than at them. So stop your emotive BS narrative, because you're not bringing anything to the table.
To sit down, to get in the way. I mean, that to me...
To sit in and down and get in the way, get in the way of who? Shut up. What? No, I'm going to call you out on that. To sit down and get in the way of who? They're sat down, getting in the way of what? The old people sat down at the table selling poppies, so the protesters sit down and that's getting in the way of who? Because your narrative doesn't hold up. And it's okay all the time. It's bleeding stop oil people gluing themselves and all of the, Extinction Bleeding Rebellion. Oh, yeah, don't have nearly as much to say. But this lot, oh, well, they're just out of order. Oh, they're going to cause a bleeding insurrection. They are, these people. Yeah, and we know what happens with insurrections, because I saw it in America. It's deadly. When they have an insurrection in America, you know what happens. Oh, they all turn up. Oh, the police remove all the barricades. And as they run in the building to insurrect, I'm not sure what form that takes, as they run in the building, the police hand out bottles of water. Oh, it was so dangerous. I mean, I was absolutely flabbergasted. I was flustered. I couldn't believe it. I was astounded. I was outraged. I was. Come on.
I don't want anybody to be intimidated by violence. We can talk about the fireworks in a minute.
Right.
We can talk about the crowd control. We can talk about the arrests.
Yes.
We can talk about the intimidation.
Yes.
But that, to me, that picture,
right,
contrast, really sums up what has happened in the last 24 hours, Peter.
That picture sums up what? What does it sum up? What? It's something you're trying to make, a narrative that you're trying to push. You're trying to push this narrative. And a few weeks ago, oh, you couldn't say anything about the Muslim people, could you? Oh, no, the Muslims, oh, they were lovely, they were. Oh, yeah, don't be racist, don't even mention Islam, no. Now, all of a sudden, overnight, they've become deviants. They've become outcasts from society, and anybody that speaks on them, don't get me wrong, I don't give a stuff either way. I'm commentating on the hypocrisy and the sheer lunacy of our media class that are again in bed with the bleeding political class who bleeding pull their strings and tell them what to say. And Peter, you old codger, go home. You should be in a bleeding rest home with your backward 1970s bleeding police tactics. You don't bring anything to the table. You're a bleeding rabble-rouser. Go away.
People who
John
give
Wedger.
up their time
right.
to sell poppies
and
other remembrance memorabilia
right.
and raise money for the British Legion
right.
are among the very best of us. They truly are.
Yeah, patronise them.
Those who would insult them, intimidate them, or...
Where's the proof? Before you actually say this in the public domain, where is the proof? And I know some people will say, well, where's the proof that they aren't? I'm being presented by the proof. This photograph is being presented to me as proof that they were being rude to poppy sellers. Now, that doesn't tell me... I don't get that from that photograph. I mean, is it me? I mean, I haven't got my glasses on, but what? It doesn't look like the words, the rhetoric they're coming out with doesn't sort of tally up with the vision that I'm looking at. Oh, God. Gets worse. Come on.
Otherwise interfere with the fundraising are amongst the very worst of us.
Yes, well, they're not interrupting the fundraising.
Well, there is, of course, an all-encompassing offence of behaviour that is likely to cause a breach.
Don't forget the way this crap works, excuse my French, but the way this nonsense works is they ask anybody to come on and commentate. And they're basically given a script, right? We're going to say this, and we need you to be for it or against it or whatever. Sometimes they have both, don't they? To compare and contrast. You know, they bring somebody in that's for the item and somebody that's against the item. Then they all have a clean verbal slanging match, don't they? For our delectation. And I think today they've got him in right, we want you to slag this whole situation off. Oh, it's terrible, this photograph. Look how insurrectioning they're being. There's insurrections everywhere. There is. Insurrection. That's something old Peter hasn't had since 1972, my dear, has he? Come on. Insurrect away.
And there are other potential
it's terrible.
order offences
that
might apply.
Yes.
So there's quite a raft of legislation.
Fancy saying stop the Gaza genocide. I mean, I don't know who these people think they are. Getting themselves about the place in London saying stop the Gaza genocide and don't kill people in my name. Oh, stop killing children as well. Who do they think they are? I mean, how dare they? You bleeding run duffers.
That may be appropriate depending upon the actions of those revolting people that would choose to intimidate. So if the police are there...
They're revolting. The peasants. Are the peasants revolting, Peter Plexley? Former Met Police detective. Yes, I wonder whether you know John Wedger, because he speaks a load of smack as well. Mind you, you know, yeah, say no more. What is the matter? Well, I was once a copper, so now I'll get myself on the VooTube for the VooTube viewers and talk complete loads of nonsense. They're overly represented on social media, all these ex-coppers, and all their daring deeds and ne'er-do-wells and all their bleeding tall tales that no one gives a shoot about. Yeah? Why? What is... Oh, I was once coppers, therefore I can get on there and say something. And I might say, stoke up the bleeding fires. Who's going to win? Keep Bono.
If they feel there is a need
actually,
for them to intervene,
yes,
then they
who benefits?
Can do. But like yourself, I don't want to see violence on the streets of London. I abhor violence.
Right, well, if you don't want to see violence, you need to wind your neck and lower the rhetoric a bit, don't you, dear? That's what you need to do. And your Peter bleeding Corber, look at him try. Oh, look, I'm very sincere. Yes, I really think next week there's going to be a major insurrection. Yes, there really is, you know, because I've made it happen.
Its guises.
Right.
But there was a social media tweet put out this week by a man called Will Geddes.
Oh, yes.
Who is a contributor to...
Look at him insurrecting. Stop on the children.
And counter-terrorism expert. And his tweet was words to the effect of that if our Armistice and Remembrance Day
ceasefire now
are interfered with, then some of these protesters will discover the difference between keyboard warriors and real warriors.
Yes, indeed. I wonder...
Did you catch that rhetoric? That if they march next week, some of these people are going to learn the difference between keyboard warriors and real warriors. What is that rhetoric? What is that rhetoric? What is that statement saying? Because I know what it's saying to me. It's saying this old duffer is a troublemaker. He's probably paid to rabble rouse. And we really shouldn't be listening to any form of media, whether it's social media or the legacy media. And as I say, they're always banging on about social media causes this problem and that problem when they are actually on social media gobbing off. A bit like me, really, except I'm not advocating for anything. I can't see any violence there. They're just walking along the street. You know, and you keep slagging off the police. What do you want the police to do? Nothing was happening.
About the police response to this, because there are 1,300
outrageous. Stop bombing children
yesterday in London. That is a huge cost.
They are these people
cost in terms of their time, in terms of their efforts,
right?
And I'm sure there are many good bobbies on the beat who want to police these things fairly and do it properly.
I'm sure they do.
But I was just last night I read the story and I was just my jaw just dropped. Let me just read you.
Oh, it never stops flapping, so that makes a change, doesn't it?
The Sunday Telegraph has today.
Go on.
A hard left activist,
yes,
who was filmed leading chants from the river to the sea, at a pro-Palestine rally,
yes,
is an advisor to the police,
right,
on their response to protests, over the Israel-Hamas conflict. The Telegraph can disclose. Atik Malik is a solicitor who is also railed against, as he put it, global censorship by Zionists, was present in the police operations room during protests this month.
I'm shocked.
A video uncovered by The Telegraph shows Mr. Malik.
I'm going to have to go and change my tenor, lady. I'm so shocked.
See, Palestine will be free. In 2021, a slogan described by Downing Street as deeply offensive to many. The disclosure of his role is likely to further embarrass the Metropolitan Police after weeks of criticism.
There's a lot of stuff that's hugely offensive to many, and no one gives a stuff. I'm offended every day, all day, but no one gives a stuff. That's why I don't bang on about it. I was offended 3 years ago, the way the media just took up behind Boris Johnson, who has been resoundingly proved time and time and time again to have been wrong, and all his advisors. They were all wrong. So it's just BS. Don't give me all that. Anyway, I've had enough of it. Just go and watch it yourself if you want to. Oh, Babs is going out for a walk, so I'm off ski. See you later. Bye-bye now.